What's going on, guys? So today we've got Aaron here. So Aaron's just another trainer at the gym that I'm working at. He's super knowledgeable. I get lots of value out of the conversations that we have. So Aaron, just give a little bit about yourself and where you've kind of come from and what got you here, and kind of share about your story.
Sweet. Hey guys, obviously I work in the same gym that James works at. I've been there for about 5 or 6 years now, and I've been a trainer in that whole time. I've absolutely loved just being a part of this community and being part of this area. It's a great place, and it's been awesome having James come into it, which is really cool. But yeah, so I've sort of started training at a young age. I started training when I was about 12, and ever since then I've always wanted to be a professional wrestler. Was sort of my dream as a kid. So it's sort of a bit of a funny turnaround as to where I am now. But definitely when I first sort of started training, it was such a young age. I had no idea what the heck I was doing. You know, I was basically just got a gym set from Kmart, and I was lifting in my backyard, and I think all I trained was biceps for the first year. So I didn't really know what to do, but definitely from there, it's, you know, starting to learn that knowledge. And I'm so glad that I did start at such a young age of training, because it did really build my foundations of being in the gym and understanding things. And I got my first gym membership when I was 14. From there, as soon as I had my first job at 15, I hired a personal trainer, and that sort of was the start of my love for what I do right now, and the start of why I do and who I am today, sort of thing. Is because having those personal trainers just gave me that guidance and the knowledge to be able to, change my body and support my body in that way. And it just took a long time to be able to build up my strength and understand things properly. But I had a personal trainer for about 5 years, and just that turned my life around. Like I definitely would not be who I am today without those people, and just the knowledge that they gave me, and it drove me to want to do that for people too, because I couldn't believe the amount of change that they gave me. I was this young kid that had no idea what to do and no confidence about myself, and they just gave me that confidence. So that was the major thing that, that's probably the biggest change that I felt from personal training over everything. So, after 5 or 6 years with personal trainers, I decided to do it myself. I also became a wrestler in that time too. So I started doing WWE style wrestling, and was traveling around Australia and Sydney doing that, having a lot of fun, and, doing a lot of live events. But I needed to settle down and stop banging my body around the ring. So decided I'll delve into this personal training thing and give it a real crack. And I've been doing it ever since. I definitely think that, it's something that changed my life so much, and I wanted to give that to others, and feel like I have. So it's been really cool.
Yeah, that's an incredible story. That's really cool.
Yeah.
So I guess what I wanted to ask, and I was just asking before we started this, was like, what do you think the biggest problem is that people have? Like, I mean, there's a lot of problems around, but what do you think is the main common problem, or something we can kind of dive into, and just share your experience or your knowledge about that?
Yeah, 100%. Like, one of the major things that I work with a lot of people now is working on their strength, because there's one common factor that I see with a lot of people is that they know how to do cardio exercises. They understand a lot of that because there's been so much information about cardio and HIIT training and everything that's out there, but there's not a lot of simple strength exercises for the average 100%. Person. And they don't really know how to utilize the equipment in the gym. So it's one thing that to understand it properly, and also to understand it safely, because I see so many people getting injured, and I walk past people in the gym, and it's sometimes I've got to stop and just ask them a question like, hey, like you're okay doing that exercise, because you definitely need to improve on your form a little bit here, or you've got a few things to work on, and it's something I want to help everybody to understand properly.
So, I totally agree. It's the simple stuff, and like over time, like you may not feel it now, but if you don't, if we're not looking at that or fixing that over time, it can cause lots of issues. And it's the simple stuff that, like you may have heard from someone that said, hey, this is how you do it, but this is why we've kind of dived into like study this stuff, is to help you in a way that you can move safely and feel better in that way, and build that strength. And it's really, really cool. So I guess, the next thing is, I'm full lost now.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
That's a really good point. Like the strength, I think a lot of people have. I think that's stopping them to go in there is like confidence issue.
100%. I definitely think that plays a part.
And like there's so many information out there that it's hard to like pick out what's right for you.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is that every single gym program that you have in the world, it's all like, it depends on you, and it
Yeah.
depends on the person, and it's
Yeah.
so hard to know what's right or wrong, because there's no such thing as right or wrong. Like, you know, this type of program is good for one person and it's not good for another person.
Yeah.
And this is where strength training does come in, because strength training can be very particular to the person and their history. And like James said before, like, you know, you've got to be very careful with exercises, because it may not be now that you get sore or injured from them, it's in the future. And this is something, because I did start training at such a young age, like started at 12. I've turned 30 this year, so I'm getting up there in the years. But definitely, you know, I started training a long time ago. So for me, it's, you know, when I hit about 2021, I was doing things that were quite damaging for my body. Where I was lifting heavy weights with bad form. And I had personal trainers, but that did help me to teach me different form. But I was doing a lot by myself as well, and learning bad technique and doing bad technique, and ended up having bad shoulders, bad hips, and bad back because of that. And
Well, I guess what I was going to ask, because like from my experience, the reason why I'm so focused on doing it correctly and make sure you don't injure yourself, because I've had a really bad injury. Is there something that, like, have you had like a really bad injury that kind of your experience, like when you're teaching others, that's what you kind of relate to? Like, what's your like biggest injury, and you've gone, oh, I need to look after my form and look after my body and stuff?
Very much so. So probably, like, I've had quite a few injuries, shoulder injuries, back injuries, knee injuries, hip injuries, feet injuries, things that have all come from different versions of training, you could say, or different versions of exercises, and just incidents that have happened. But the major one is probably my lower back. This is the one spot of my body that is so, you know, you've got to be so careful when it comes to your back health, because your back is connected to everything else on your body. You know, if you hurt your foot, like, you can put it in a cast and you can leave it there for a while, that's fine. You can kind of hop around on your other leg, or, you know, get a crutch, that's okay. But if you hurt your back, like, that's it. Like, you know, you're not going to be able to get up off the couch, or you're not going to be able to move everything. So you've got to be careful with what you can do with your spine.
Because it's so close to CNS, and
that's exactly
it's going to cause issues in your nerves, and like the bulging discs and things like that. I think the common thing that I can relate to that is when people do a deadlift and stuff, and they go, my back hurts. I'm like, well, like, maybe you're doing it wrong, because it shouldn't feel in the back if you're doing it correctly.
That's
like,
exactly right.
I think,
that's a really good point that I tell people as well, is that, you know, if you feel an exercise and it's not working a muscle that it's meant to be working, so if you're doing a deadlift and it's hurting your lower back, then obviously there's something wrong. Or if you're doing a squat and it's hurting you know, your neck, it's like, well, there's obviously something going wrong. So that's an important thing, is to make sure you understand what muscles and exercise should be working, and then check that you're actually, those muscles are the ones that are feeling it. You know, it's a really good check, because you just don't know. Like, if you're doing a back row and your shoulders are hurting in a weird way, then obviously there's something wrong. So, but the first thing is form. You know, if you can fix your techniques, a lot of the times these pains can be prevented and can go away. So
100%. Yeah, I was going to dive into like the many factors into what goes into like a strength lift. So like the benefit to risk, and like it's important to know, like, there's so many factors to be involved with a lift, and like you got to look at the benefit to risk. So
definitely,
when you look at like a hypertrophy lift to a strength lift, it's a movement based exercise compared to an isolation exercise.
So that makes sense.
I guess when you're doing a deadlift, if you want to isolate your back, there's so many other options that you can do if the deadlift isn't working, that you can move towards, because you'll look at what the goal is, what you want to get out of the exercise.
Exactly.
But I think the first key is about being aware and people understanding what the exercise is actually meant to achieve for you.
100%.
So it's literally like, the way I think about the exercises and any programs and stuff is looking at every exercise and mostly every set, going like, what is this exercise meant to do for the person?
That's exactly right.
I think people aren't, I guess that's why we're studying this and things like that, is because people are not really seeing that side of things, and that's when we can fine tune our attention to that sort of thing. That's why it's really important, like you said, with the trainer, and
100%.
There's so many factors, but that's everything. So
I think that's an awesome point, and that's the thing, is like, I do always think this too, like, what's the point of doing something if there's no point to it.
Yeah,
Like,
100%.
you know, if you're not sure what the direction or
Yeah.
what the point of this exercise is for, like, there's nothing wrong with training for fun and
yeah,
trying
yeah.
new things. Like, that's
Yeah.
absolutely fine.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, if you have a goal and you want to achieve something, then you've got to make sure that every step that you take is actually working towards that thing, that purpose. You know, so if the
100%.
goal is to get strong, you know, you're not going to spend you know, an hour walking on a treadmill every day.
That's
like,
it,
it's kind of pointless. It's, you're heading in the wrong direction. So
Yeah, it's a really good point. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think it comes down to the quality and the effectiveness of the plan and the training of whatever it is. But yeah, I think people are too focused on like the quantity and like
Yeah,
the
I agree with
idea
that.
around like if I work really hard this short amount of time, I'm gonna get there.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And
Yeah.
it's trying to shift people's focus in like anything like greatly achieved takes time.
Yeah.
Like, it takes a lot of time, and
Can't agree more with that.
100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's something that I'm trying to. I started diving into a lot with people now. Is like
Yeah.
it's something that people need to understand. It's for long run.
Yeah.
Longevity over
100%.
yeah, and sustainability over
Yeah.
quick fix.
That's exactly right. Yeah, I can't agree more with that.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I've definitely experienced that in the past, you know, especially when I was about 2021, as that's when a lot of my injuries started to happen. And, you know, that's meant to be your peak time, right? Like, that's
Yeah.
meant to be your time that you're the strongest and fittest in your whole life.
Yeah.
But for me, I was getting the most injured I've ever been. And it was just because I had damaged my body doing wrong technique and wrong
Yeah.
form. So it's,
Yeah.
you know, it was an eye-opener, and it's
Yeah.
what delved me into learning about how to move my body properly and
Yeah.
understanding form. So,
Yeah.
but you know, one thing that I wanted to make a point on as well is something that you mentioned, the amount of frequency that people do, and people just focus on the amount of training they do. And it's something I noticed is a lot of people train harder than most Olympic athletes do. They train more than what most Olympic athletes do.
Yeah.
And it's scary
really
to think
cool.
that
Yeah.
that they are in the gym longer than what most Olympic athletes are. So it's
Oh,
just goes to
100%.
show, like, what's the point to it all?
Yeah.
If they're training more than those people, they're just going to end up getting injured. And
Yeah.
and you know, me and James, we see this all the time because we're in the field. Like,
Yeah.
we work with these people that have been overtraining or have been undertraining and not getting the results they want. So it's interesting, and they've been doing too much. So
Yeah, well, like to dive into that a little bit, like me personally, I haven't trained high-end athletes or anything like that, but from
Yeah.
my understanding, they only do like 3 days a week.
yeah, that's exactly right.
But they plan it in a way
Yeah.
where, from what I've learned, on your on season, you focus on the patterns and the pattern of the sport, obviously,
Yeah.
particularly of the sport. So if you're doing like a swimmer, like
Yeah.
you would work on like the rotations in the stomach and the core and things like that through the on season, and in the off
Yeah.
season your building phase.
Yeah,
That's from my understanding, but still, again, they're only
yeah, I totally
doing
agree.
all year round, but 3 days a week, so
Yeah.
they can focus on recovery, so they can focus on eating right, and they
Yeah.
can focus on life, and
100%.
yeah, it's crazy when you put it that way. And
Yeah, exactly right.
yeah,
And
people are going 6 days a week.
Yeah.
and it's like 6 or 7. No
Yeah,
rest.
6 or 7.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
no
they're
rest.
wondering like, they're crashing or they don't feel
Yeah.
the best for the sessions, and
100%.
where they like something about mental issues, things like come
Yeah.
up, and it's like, oh, what do I do?
Yeah.
Like, okay, well, have some rest.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah,
Have a little
break.
yeah, have a break, and that's it.
Um,
And it's
yeah.
the same with any style of training. You need that time. You need that break. And
Yeah.
you know, you can train 7 days a week. That's fine. But you've got to make sure that the intensity is low enough
Yeah.
to be able to manage that. But nobody does that either.
Yeah.
So they don't understand that properly. And that's something that you've got to build the knowledge of for
Yeah,
sure. So,
100%.
yeah.
Like you could make, you can make one set work
Yeah.
just as hard as the whole session.
Yeah,
and like
that's
that's
exactly
the
right.
idea.
Yeah.
I think people need to start shifting their focus. Is again, like go back to the point. Is like quantity or quality. So
Yeah,
like the quality of the set
exactly.
of the exercise, not
Yeah.
want to do 5 different exercises in like, or not always say that, but like a
Yeah.
superset, like a giant set, 3 exercises in one set, and
Yeah.
then just work on that. So
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
Quality is always going to be better. And
Yeah.
I've been in zones where I've tried quantity and I've tried to do as much as I could in a week. And at these times where I was 2021, I was training 7 days a week, and I was doing 8 to 10 exercises per workout, and I was slamming my body, and it was just not getting me anywhere. I was getting worse results. And it wasn't until my trainer at the time said, hey, look, you got to scale back. And then we just focused on the main strength lifts. So he basically just peeled me back. Instead of doing 10 exercises per workout, I ended up going into doing 2 or 3 exercises per workout.
Yep.
And I was still training 5 days a week, but I would basically just, I would squat one day, I would deadlift another day, I'd bench press another day, I would do pull-ups another day. And my results just went through the roof. Like, I just scaled back. I did, I focused on resting and recovering more than I actually was training. I was eating better, and that made a huge difference. And I ended up getting much better results. I started to actually put on muscle and size, which was my goal at the time. And I'm not saying that, that's not always going to lead you into strength work. Doesn't make you bulky. Like that, we're proving that. It's more the food that I was eating that was making me bulky. I was having 3,000 to 4,000 calories a day at the time. So that was definitely making me bulky. But the style of training that's really stripped it back. And it's funny to think that, taking back my training and stripping it back gave me better results than I was when I was hitting it harder. So,
that will come down. Yeah, that's really a good point, because I had the same experience. My past has been a bodybuilder. I started as a bodybuilder. There you go. So I love seeing how they trained and stuff like that. Yeah. But then, I'll relate it back to, I said this I think in the first episode of the podcast, where I had the back injury and from a deadlift, and it wasn't heavy. But I couldn't really move for at least a week or two. And then I had to be really careful with training. But after that, I've done no more than four days a week, and just really dialed in why is my deadlift not working? Why did I get that pain in my back? And actually dial it right back down to tweaking it in a way that I don't feel my back anymore, or I don't get injured, and look at the volume of what I'm doing and not push too hard. And
that's exactly right.
It's
trying to scale it back, and it's hard for somebody that is a busy person that doesn't quite have the time to focus on learn all this stuff. That's why it becomes so important for trainers like ourselves to help people out that don't fully understand it, because if you don't have time to understand this stuff, that's fine, but we're always here to sort of guide you and give you that support as you go. And strength training is simple. It just, we've got to make sure that we keep it simple, because we can overcomplicate the situations way too much. And I see that people do overcomplicate it, but there's only so many different ways that our body functions and moves, and as long as we can keep our body safe and in those movements, there's only 5 different planes of our body that our body moves. So up, down, side, side. It's there's not really much that our body can do. So as long as you keep working within those planes of motion and do your simple exercises, you get amazing results.
100%. As long as you know what your goal, and then just tailor it for the goal.
I
think what I wanted to go down is, I think the problem that people have when they want to train so much, and I mean, if anyone's having that problem, I think it's that emotional attachment to training as well too. 100%. When you look at that aspect, because I find that a lot when people are training 7 days a week or something, there's got to be something else going on. And then when they feel upset or get resistant against pulling back, it's okay, why is that happening?
100%.
That's the same thing that happened with me, because I trained 7 days a week because I had so many issues to deal with, but I resorted to training because that's how I dealt with it.
100%.
And I found that really, really hard, because if I pulled back on training, I really didn't want to deal with my stuff.
That's exactly
right. I think that just came up, and I was that might relate to a few people. So
100%. I can't agree with that more. And it's, for me, it was my out as well. I was a very introverted person. I've definitely worked on that a lot now. But I was very introverted. I kept to myself, and I didn't really have a life outside of the gym. I'd been in the gym since I was 14. I didn't hang out with friends. All I did was train. And on a Friday night, I was at the gym, and a Saturday night, I was at the gym. It was that was my home. That was my life. And it was just, for me, that was my safe haven. That was my comfort zone. And it took a while to learn that it's okay to go out and enjoy things, and to eat out with friends, and to have fun with that, because when you're stuck in that mindset of I've got to train, it's just that becomes an obsession. And some obsessions are good obsessions, and some become, when it gets to the point of being too much, that's when it starts to becoming negative on your life, and that's 100% what happened to me. And I've burnt out from training multiple times in the past, where I has led and run into an injury in the past, which, as I said, the worst one was definitely my back at the time. That was definitely the worst one. But being obsessed with training and staying in the gym 7 days a week always leads to something negative, and it's just never a good thing. You need to make sure you have that life balance as well as having that. But
I think the sign, I think I would say, if you were to pick the signs for when that's happening, it's just basically how you're feeling, getting into tune with that, because it is very hard I've noticed it is very hard for someone to pick up on those signs and being aware of it. So I mean, I would say if it's affecting your energy to be around people, or if it's
Yeah.
like going into the gym and you're just not feeling the best, or
Yeah.
you just feel fatigued and you're not getting the best out of your sessions. Like
100%.
that's probably the main signs that I would probably say.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I'd say as well, like if you can't go like 3 to 4 days or even a week without a training session, if you're sitting at home and it's making you feel gross and itchy that you haven't trained in that time, or it makes you feel like, oh, I'm not good enough, or I'm bloody, I'm weak, or I'm this and that.
Yeah.
That's also not a good thing as well.
Yeah.
Like our bodies don't lose strength and fitness in a week.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it takes a lot longer for that to happen.
100%, yeah.
So if you can't go a week without training and not be happy,
Yeah.
that, I like to move every day, don't get me wrong, but I can go a week or two without doing a training session and not feel guilty about it. Like that's
Yeah.
absolutely fine. But
Yeah.
if you can't do that right now, that can be a sign that maybe you've got to readjust where you're at, readjust your goals, and just sort of understand like it's okay to miss some training sessions. But we've got to try and keep consistent as we can. But 3 to 4 days a week of training is going to keep you pretty healthy, and
100%,
you're going to
yeah.
feel fine. So
Yeah.
if you can have 4 days off a week that without training, and that's absolutely fine.
Yeah,
So
100%.
just sort of creating that balance and understanding it.
100%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I totally agree.
Mm.
Like,
Yeah.
I guess when we're talking about the general pop of what
Yeah.
works, there's a lot of different types of training styles as well, and I guess like we said before, it just gets confusing. And
Yeah,
like,
very much so.
I mean, I get overwhelmed sometimes.
Yeah.
It's like there's so much
Yeah.
like to look at, and it's like, okay, but I guess that's
Oh,
I like to
I
think.
totally agree. And there is so many different aspects when it comes to training.
Mm.
But the best way I've ever had to describe is that there are many methods, but there's only a few principles.
Mm.
And what that means is that there's so many different ways to do a certain thing. Like
100%,
you can do the same thing 1,000 different ways. And you've got to always remember that the fitness world is a business world. It's not a direct, there are a lot of people out there that are just trying to make a sale.
Yeah.
And they will make their method seem better than everybody else's just to try and make a sale. And it doesn't always mean that their method is better.
Yeah.
It's just that they can market it better. Or they've got better options in that way. So it's sort of hard to know what's real and what's not true, and what works and what doesn't work. But the thing is that as long as you're doing the few principles and sticking to those principles, that at the end of the day is what works the most. And I think the key principles is, make sure you train strength 2 to 3 times a week. Like that's a simple one. I think then just make sure you eat a good amount of food and stay healthy with that, and then recover.
Yeah.
Like they're the main.
simple.
Yeah. So it's actually so simple.
Yeah.
The principles are very simple. And then the principles of strength training, like James would say, like the amount of reps and sets that you should do to be classified as strength training, like they always stay the same, right? Like they don't change. If you're doing anything more than 20 reps, depending on the exercise, it's probably more of a cardio exercise. Or if you're doing a superset of 4 exercises and you're doing 20 reps of each exercise, that's not strength anymore. That's cardio. Like it's kind of sticking within the principles of where you're at. So
100%.
Strength training is doing a lift, having I always say it's anything below 20 reps with at least a 45-second rest break after. That is the principle of strength training for me personally. If you're doing anything below 20 reps and have at least a 45-second rest between each set, that is the minimum amount of things and the maximum amount of reps that you should do for to be classified as strength training. Anything else is going into your cardio systems of your body. So that's the main principle
100%.
when it comes to strength training.
100%.
Yeah.
I totally agree. And I think I mean, there's been heaps of value today. I was going to go down like when you touch base on that business kind of world of things. It's just being aware that like you said, there is going to be people out there that will sell anything, and it's about individualizing it to you. And I think the problem is they're not individualized enough.
I
for
agree
the
with
ones that do play that model of I'm going to get as many people as I can.
That's exactly right.
That's the problem with that, because if they're getting as many people as they can, you got to think about how much time it takes
to individualize each program.
So so
I totally agree with that.
it's something that I'm seeing more and more of. I guess that's just how they do it, but
and there's some benefit to those. There's definitely some people that if you're the right type of person for that program, that's awesome.
100%.
But you've got to make sure that you're the right type of person for that program. If you're not, like I've seen where I'm not naming anybody, but like I've seen some programs of some young fitness model girls and males and stuff that are out there, and you know, they do bodybuilding and whatnot. Not just picking on the bodybuilding world, but it's just what's common, right? And then I'll see, you know, a 60-year-old woman working on a program that's written for a 20-year-old, and it's, you know, that's fine. Like, maybe the 60-year-old woman's a gun in the gym and they can absolutely kill it. And I have seen that in the past. I've trained, you know, a 78-year-old that could deadlift 60 kilos. So, you know, she was an absolute weapon, and super, super strong. But at the end of the day, it's like, hey, look, this program is designed for a 20-year-old, and they're selling it to somebody that's 60. You know, it's definitely a big gap there, and it's something that you've got to be careful of, and I have seen people be burnt by that in the past.
And looking at an injury side of things, so like people's orthopedic profile is if you've got a squat in your program, if you have been cleared to squat in the correct back positional demand, so whether it be externally rotating the hips and ankle mobility and stuff, and you've got given a squat, what kind of squat? Like,
exactly.
Can you do a squat at full depth? Why can't you do that? And like that's where the individualization comes from. Like, for me personally, if I got given a squat, but to do like a high bar squat, I don't do high bar squats very well.
There you go.
So I've completely, it's just my ankle mobility, my hip mobility is not there.
100%.
So, but for someone that just got given a program to squat, they're going to squat because it's a program.
And that's the thing enough. For me. High bar squats are the way to go. I can't do low bar because it puts too much pressure on my lower back. I have to fold forward too much. So it's definitely everybody's individual, and just me and James is sort of, you know, not too far apart age-wise, but we have such a difference in what we can do. Like, you know, James has a low bar squat, I have to high bar squat, and you know, with my back, I had to actually box squat for about, I box squatted for about a year and a half, and I wasn't able to do normal squats because when I got to the bottom range, it was so much pressure on my lower back that I couldn't come out properly without hurting my back. So I, you know, alternated it, and I did box squats for a year, and that you know, made a big difference. You know, I was able to still continue squatting without pain or injuries, and so it's everybody's different and individual.
100%, because I get that back pain when I high bar squat. So,
there we go.
It's completely, it's crazy. It's crazy. But it's cool insight to, I guess, share. So like why it's important to look at all those things, because
100%.
It's when you look at it as an injury side and things like that, as well as what you mentioned too. It's pretty crazy.
Very much so. It's amazing, and it's such a cool world. It's just so individual, and can be hard to understand what to do. But keep it simple, and when in doubt, just ask somebody. You know, a lot of us trainers are here to help, and we do this for a living. You know, it's what we love, and you know, a lot of the information, a lot of the stuff we give is absolutely free. Like, it's, you know, we don't charge as much as we maybe should for certain things. We give a lot out for free, and you know, I know with me and James, like we'll give you all our time of the day to be able to help you to do something, and you know, the value is there. We know that it's there for the training that we offer and what we do. So because otherwise we wouldn't be doing it. You know, it's something that we know has helped a lot of people in the past and can help more, and it's something that we give to the world because we love it. So
that's a great point. Because the reason why we do it is to show you that we are open to anything you have to ask. We're open to it.
Very much so.
And like for me, if I don't know the answer, I'll find someone that will.
That's exactly right.
That's
can't agree more with that.
I mean, that's why I share as much as I can, is to show you that I'm open to pretty much anything.
I love that. So it's awesome.
But I think to leave it on that, I think that's a good way to wrap it up.
Excellent. I love it.
Thanks, Aaron.
Thank you, man.
It's really, really cool. It'd be nice to have you on again soon.
I love it.
Sick. I think there's a lot of value in there.
I think so too.
That's awesome.
Hope you've got a lot from it, and can't wait to hear how it all goes.
Sweet. Awesome. Thanks, Aaron.
Thank you, mate. It was awesome, eh? So,
it's
really
good.